Hi everyone, welcome to this new episode of the ImaginAdventures Podcast. I hope that you've had a wonderful week so far. I can imagine it may have been a rather intense week for most of you. It sure has been for me. But challenges are meant to make us grow, right? And actually life is challenging enough that we don't need to add the Imposter Syndrome into this now, do we? Well, so what's this Imposter Syndrome anyway? This is what I want to talk to you about today, and we're going to talk about ways that we can get rid of it. So you know that little voice in your head that says, I don't know what I'm doing. Any moment now, somebody's going to catch me out. Why did I even attempt this? Or stuff like, I'm so bad at this. I'm not good enough. I'm such a failure. I'll never succeed. I'll never be good enough. So all these sentences, all this negative talk, this is basically what we call the imposter syndrome. And believe it or not, if you feel that you have it, you are actually amongst 70% of the population who suffer from it. So you're not alone. But today I want to give you 3 reasons why suffering from the imposter syndrome is actually a good thing. And then I will give you 5 practical tips and examples on how you can get rid of it. So why would the imposter syndrome be a good thing? Well, the first reason is real imposters, people whose intent is to mislead us, that's just what they are. They are out there to mislead us. So they know it. They are consciously doing it. And so chances are they are not the kind of people who would be listening to this podcast right now. So if you're here at this very moment today, listening to me, talking about the imposter syndrome, because you feel that you may be suffering from it, then this is your first clue that you're most definitely not an imposter. So well done. Secondly, while the imposter syndrome can be a major obstacle to achieving your goals or to feel confident, especially in the workplace, I read in an article, in a BBC article actually, that research has proven that people who did experience that syndrome were actually more likely to be empathetic, to be better at communicating with other people, and overall performed better than their peers. So because you feel you're never doing enough, that you're never good enough, well, you actually end up doing more and doing things better than everybody else. So that's actually a fantastic thing. Maybe you take a lot of effort to do that, but it's worth it in the end because, you're doing your work, you're doing your things really well. So just don't forget to take credit for the amazing things that you are achieving and allow yourself to feel confident. And remember that just being you means that you're already doing enough. But the third reason why feeling like you have the imposter syndrome is good news is, well, that you can actually overcome it. How? By reframing your thinking. So it may happen over time, may take a while, but it might actually click for you today, right after listening to those few examples and tips that I'm going to share with you now. Depends on everyone. But let's see. The first thing that comes to mind, of course, is that the right way to do anything in life, to run a business, whether you're in a relationship or in your professional life, is that you want to always be as authentic as possible. The moment that you start to pretend, it's basically only a sign that you're doing something that is not fully aligned with yourself, and so that you probably should not be doing. So if you feel like an imposter, ask yourself first, is this what you really want? Are you really doing the job that you want to be doing? And if not, it's okay, but just ask yourself, what else would you rather be doing now? So if you feel like you have the imposter syndrome, ask yourself these questions. Maybe this is why you feel like that. Another reason why you may be suffering from it is if you know that you are selling something that doesn't work, or if you are lying to people, but you believe that you're doing this for a greater cause, or that you have your own reason for doing so. So basically, you are misleading people for what you believe is greater gain, and so you justify your choices. So if that's the case, I strongly recommend that you redefine your purpose, maybe even revisit your product or your services, and watch what you tell people, because one, if you lie, they will eventually find out. It's very likely that they will find out, and that it will backfire. And two, you may believe that you're doing this for a good reason, so for example, to please somebody, but in the end, it will make you unhappy, and so, it's not worth it. So for example, if you're being asked by your pharmaceutical company's manager to sell a product which helps people lose weight, but which you also know affects their liver and lead to liver disease, you may think that you're doing your job promoting that product because you get a good percentage, you get to get a good salary, and you're actually giving people something that they want because they want to lose weight, and it's working. So they're buying it for a reason, for this reason. And part of you feels like you're doing your job, and another part of you feels like you're an imposter because you're also maybe making them sick, and you're not telling them about this potential side effect. So if that's the case, if that's the situation you're in now, and if that's why you're feeling like an imposter, try and get your priorities straight. I would suggest to write down the pros and cons of a situation, or even of a product or a service that you're selling, and try and figure out what you really want and why, and then stick with what feels best for you and for the people that you're selling it to. So, that may have sounded a bit rash, I know, but part of why we feel like an imposter sometimes may be because we may, in a way, and against our will, partly be. However, there are many instances where, on the contrary, you are simply doing your best, you have the best intentions, and yet you feel strangely guilty about doing what you do. It's the case for a lot of coaches, spiritual teachers, consultants, but it's also the case for teachers, even in schools, or architects out there, just anybody really, who are selling a service or a product. So why is that? Why do we feel that way? So it could be because your product or your service hasn't been tested yet, or tested enough, and you don't know if it's actually working in the way that you promised people that it is working. So if that's the case, just run a few more trials. It could also be because, if we admit it, we do live in a society where we are exposed to a lot of scams, and this is not your fault, but it will affect how you feel. So if you are, say, an energetic healer, for example, and you just launched your new business, but you feel very awkward promoting your services and talking about yourself and your gift, because there are many people out there who also promise the same thing. They've been talking about how they can heal other people and whatever, and there are charlatans, okay? So if that's the case and that's how you feel, I would recommend to simply just try and, make some videos or write some articles, do things that are really genuine, that come naturally to you, and, where you can talk from your heart. The right people will be attracted to you and your services in the end. And also, I would say lead by example, walk your talk. So, for example, as a coach, I have a coach. What better way to show that coaching is truly beneficial than experiencing its benefits ourselves, So I have experienced the incredible benefits of having a coach, and this is how I got so passionate about helping people in the same way. You can also get testimonials. Get more and more people to try out your services and products and review them. You can also do live interviews with people who've been working with you, for example, and get them to tell others about you. We live in a very paradoxical society, so everything is visible. We have more access to images, sounds, videos than we ever had before. But the problem is we don't really know what's real and what's not anymore. Think about it. We can use filters to look different. I even tried myself on Instagram the other day, and I used a filter, and it just wasn't me. Look, I was looking at a picture or a video through the filter, and I could barely recognize the person that I was staring at. So, but also, every day, even in movies, we use softwares now that can change people's faces, or that we can use famous people's voices. So part of having that imposter syndrome also comes from the fact that we live in what I call a partly imposter society. We don't know if what we read, what we watch online is true or not anymore. Okay, it's great to have special effects, it's great to have all these tools and stuff, but a lot of the time it's not clear if what we see is real or not. And for us who are adult now, I think it can be kind of fun, but think about the children who grow up in that sort of society where, they don't know what they're watching, if it's real or not. It can become very confusing. So we live in that kind of society. So, when we sell something that's real, we are obviously thinking from the client's perspective and wondering if they will be asking themselves, well, is this real or not? And that's absolutely normal. So, just try again, stay true to who you are, doing as many things that resonate with you will ensure that your own voice comes through. And I sincerely believe that the more honest you are and the more you do that, the more it shines through, even if there are a lot of charlatans and scammers out there. When we're being very genuine, you can still feel it and see it. Now, if this hasn't made you feel any better yet, or helped you get rid of your feeling of being an imposter, maybe this will. Look at how many services and companies make money out of selling and promoting things that are bad for us, and yet we buy all of these things. Everyone has a phone, yet we know that it reduces our attention span, that it may lead to brain tumor, and that we become addicted to them. Yet we all have one. Look at medicine. We buy countless over-the-counter medicines, such as, let's take the basic one, Panadol, ibuprofen. Yet these may be the cause of our stomach ulcers, but we buy them anyway. Coke, sodas, crisps, refined sugar, white bread. We know that. They're all bad for us, and yet we buy and we eat them. Look at the services we offer, even at the sort of media that we consume. The news. I like to use that example because I worked as a news reporter myself. I didn't do it for long. I couldn't, because I definitely was an imposter when I did it, and I hated it. It wasn't a feeling or a syndrome. I was literally taught to be an imposter. I was taught that bad news were good news. I was told that I should lie on the phone to get people to talk to me for an interview. I was taught how to use questions in a certain way that I would ensure the person would be telling me the answer that basically I wanted to hear, or that my editor wanted to hear. I was practically forced to talk to grieving people to get, a scoop. And during my final years of study at uni, actually 3 students were expelled because they used each other as sources for their quotes in the assignment that we had to do. But I know, because I've seen it happen, I know that even today, journalists, big journalists, important journalists working for big newspapers, they are also making up quotes like that. And it's very sad, but that's the way the world is. But it's just like in every job, really. It's easy to be a bad journalist and to make stuff up, to get away with it, to use people and to get away with it, to abuse and lie and get away with it. It's the same with everything, okay? It's the same with politics, it's the same with anything. It's also very important to remember that, of course, not everybody is that way and that a lot of people are trying to do the right thing. But that's the thing. These things are happening and people are still watching the news. We're still buying medicine. We're still using products and services that we know is bad for us. Why? Because, it's the kind of society that we live in. So I'm not agreeing with this. However, this is to show you that, if you decided to listen to this podcast today, you have a good conscience. On that, I am 100% certain of it. You are wondering if you may be an imposter because you don't want to be seen or perceived as something that you are not. Okay, because you are a good person. You're actually somebody who wants to help others. So don't feel guilty about your services. And I really hope that all the examples I gave you, really allow you to have gotten rid of that guilt now. As long as you have good intentions and that you actually deliver what you promise, you are for real. Yes, you may not always be able to help everyone the same. The same way that, for example, some people will use a hot water bottle to soothe their stomach when they have a stomach ache. So it may work on one person, but it won't work on another. It doesn't mean that the hot water bottle is an imposter. It just means that it didn't work on that person, but it worked on another. So because your service or your product doesn't work on one person, it doesn't mean that it won't work on another, and it doesn't mean that you're an imposter as well. Just need to make sure that you do things right. You obviously try to explain and or work with people in a way that they understand why. Sometimes people sell, for example, online courses, and then they buy the course and then they review and say, well, this was a crappy course because it didn't give me what I wanted. For some people it might be the case because they were looking for something more, and for other people it may be that they just didn't apply what was explained in the course, and so that they didn't get the result that the course was promising. So it goes both ways. But the one thing you should always do, and that you are doing since, again, you're here today, is to strive to improve. Because real imposters are so confident, they're so sure of themselves, they fake it all of the time. They actually never take time to reflect on their own actions, let alone improve, their mindset. Except if it is to make more money, I would guess, even if it is at the detriment of the human being who are buying their goods. So I think in a way, being an real imposters out there are probably very narcissistic people. Now, I'm just making an assumption here. But, when you start to lie and when you start to make up stuff, you lack empathy for other people and compassion for other people, and this is a very narcissistic trait. So it's very likely that imposters won't be trying to really help people. They will just be trying to make more money, or and so this is a very important thing. If you're really trying to help people, if your heart is true, you're not an imposter, so don't worry about that. Now, if you're still feeling unsure about whether or not you have or you're suffering from that imposter syndrome, or if you really are adding value to your clients, just understand it's a very basic thing, but you were born here for a very special and unique reason. What you have to say, what you have to offer, as long as it comes from your heart, as long as it's aligned with who you are, as long as it's 100% you, it will be different from everybody else. And it is what makes you you. It is what makes you so valuable to society, to your clients, to the world. So get out there and try and ask your family, your friends, and even your clients, what they love most about you, what they think make you different, special. Don't hesitate to ask them what you could do better as well, so that you can serve them better. So, and last but not least, everybody out there listening to me today, right now, stop trying to be perfect. There is no such thing as perfection. Okay, so people who suffer from the imposter syndrome are usually perfectionists, because we believe that in order for us to be legit or to be taken seriously, we have to have the perfect product, the best service, or the most well-made design, or the final version of our product or of our service to be able to market it and have it out there. Now, yes, we need to know ourselves, our services, our product, and to be fully honest and genuine about what it is that we offer and why. But no, we don't need to be perfect. We all make mistakes. And like I say, there are no mistakes in life, just stepping stone. It's very important to have a product, put it out there, and if for some reason you need to perfect it later on, or to add to it, or to change it, or to modify it, to review it, it is fine. Just go with the flow, do that. This is part of the journey. So forgive yourself when things don't go your way. As long as you do your best, you're doing the right thing. You are being genuine. You're not an imposter. I would also add to that, avoid copying others. So you can follow advice, obviously, listen to your friends, listen to what the successful people have done and are doing. But just because something worked for someone doesn't necessarily mean that it will work for you. And you will probably have to try a few different things. But if you follow your gut, if you are yourself 100%, no matter what, if you follow your heart, you will in the end find what works for you, what is best for you, and so what is best for your clients. So you will get to where you want to be by enjoying the journey and striving to get better, all the while accepting where you are now. I want you to remember that you're always where you're meant to be. So I would love for all of us, all of you, all of us, to leave the victimized version of ourselves behind today, right now, at this very moment. Sit up straight as you listen to me and say out loud, repeat after me, I am worthy. I am confident. I love being authentic. I am exactly where I am meant to be. And I want to add one more, which is one of Abraham Hicks' favorite sentences, which I use every day, and I tell myself every day, and I think you should do that too. The last one is, everything is always working out for me. So there you go, everybody. Look, I hope that you really enjoyed this podcast and that you are feeling 100% confident now that whatever it is that you are doing, selling, being, as long as you're being yourself, you are 100% real, okay? Remember that you are a very special light and you were born to shine. Be kind, be compassionate, not only towards others, but also towards yourself. Align your thought, feelings, and actions with who you really are, who you really want to be, what you really want to do, what you really want to have, and then go confidently out into the world. You're here for a reason. The world loves you and the world needs you. Thanks, everybody. I wish you a wonderful weekend, and I will be talking to you next week.